Brain to Rein is a concept that many riders will understand, but this goes through the process and how BWRT addresses it. First of all, there is awareness, an understanding of what's happening. So the first step is recognising what many riders experience but don't always realise. When something unsettles us while we're riding, it might be a fall, a spook, a loss of control, embarrassment in front of others, your brain may start interpreting similar situations as potentially unsafe. Because the brain's primary job is survival, it reacts quickly to protect you. And this reaction happens before you consciously decide how you want to feel. Number 2, the brain's protective response. Once the brain learns that a situation might be dangerous, it creates a response pattern. That pattern might include tension in the body, shallow breathing, anticipation of something going wrong, a loss of trust in your own judgment. The difficulty is that once the brain creates that response pattern, it tends to repeat it automatically. Number 3, the rider-horse connection. Horses are extremely sensitive animals. They constantly read subtle signals from the rider, your posture, your muscle tension, your breathing, your balance. So when the rider's brain triggers a protective response, the horse often feels that change immediately. The horse may interpret that signal as something isn't safe. Number 4, the confidence cycle. At this point, a familiar pattern often develops. The rider feels unsure, the horse senses the tension, the horse becomes reactive, the rider loses more confidence. In other words, a vicious circle develops. The rider begins anticipating problems and the horse responds to those signals. Number 5, resetting the pattern. The encouraging thing is that these reactions are not permanent. They're simply learned response patterns in the brain, and like all learned patterns, they can change. Something different can be learnt. And this is where BWRT comes in. Brain working recursive therapy, BWRT, works directly with the brain's automatic response system. Instead of analysing the past or spending months talking through the problem, BWRT works at the point where the brain first creates that protective reaction. Using the brain's own natural processes, BWRT teaches the brain to produce a different response to the situation that previously triggered fear or tension. And once the brain learns that new response, the old reaction pattern no longer needs to run automatically. And when that happens, the rider's body signals change, often without the rider having to consciously try to control them, and the horse in turn receives very different signals. The vicious circle then just reverses itself. Rider confidence begins to grow, the horse responds to that confidence, and the partnership starts to work in the way that you probably always hoped it would. If any of this sounds familiar to you as a rider, the important thing to remember is that these reactions are not a reflection of your ability or your courage. They are simply learned response patterns in your brain. And the encouraging thing is that the brain can learn a different reaction. So if you would like to find out how BWRT can help reset, reboot that response and restore your confidence in the saddle, I'd be very happy to talk with you.